That's all.
Okay, I'd like to call to order the School Boundary Advisory Public Hearing on Redistricting, Tuesday, January 27th, starting at 5:30. We have, first of all, we're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance. You all stand up.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so the purpose of this meeting is to give the citizens an opportunity to comment on the redistricting proposal that was presented at the board meeting last week. You know, any comments? The floor is yours once we get started. So first of all, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Smith, who has a welcome and probably a brief presentation.
Well, actually, I do certainly have a welcome. Thank you, everybody who comes out this evening is going to share their insights into the redistricting proposal that is before the board. As we all know, decisions are made by the community and for the community, and input is essential to making the very best decisions. So thank you very much all for coming out. For all of the system employees, our principals affected and our principals soon to be, I thank you very much for coming out. As far as the presentation, I would ask that Mr. Clements, followed by Ms. Howe, give an overview of what we've done to date so that it might set the stage for the comments to follow. So with that, Mr. Clements.
Good evening, board members. I know that at your last board meeting, we went into great depth on the overview, so tonight will be a real quick view of that. Throughout the process, everything has been online and available to everyone. So just real quickly, as I'm going to run through there, of course, it's about opening our new school, Duke, and the number of schools that are over capacity in the central core of the county is what drove the redistricting at this point. Everything's done with the policy and reg for redistricting policy. So that's there with the timeline and everything as we spoke of. The committee chaired and co-chaired with me and a representative from County Council PTAs. We have the development committee, which is members of staff working on that, and then as it calls for, equal citizens and administrators or staff members on the actual committee. And the development team presents to them. There was 4 focus areas that has been a part of redistricting for a number of years, which we discussed at great length with the committee members and as they had their discussions. This process has been going on for a little more than a year. This is about last February. There were discussions, preliminary discussions into the summer, and then this past fall, working on the proposal that came forward to the superintendent and to the board. Throughout the time frame, going back, I think, into last spring, we've received comments and input from community members, different forums, emails. When we were meeting last year, some emails. There was a time at each meeting where community could provide input to it. So this is here, and we have the documents for you of everything that was received in that entire time frame. As we talked last time, many of the comments and things that were brought forward were taken care of, incorporated into the plan, reviewed during the plan, or in some cases, Town Creek was decided not to do anything there, Oakville not to do anything, and minimize the number of students and the number of schools involved in it. A number of meetings. The first meeting we talked about, the technical committee put out one plan to start discussions and tools for the committee, did an in-depth review of the process as we did at your last meeting. And then from that, there were plans similar to this that were developed, discussed with each member. The second meeting, it had gone from 1 to 3 to 4, and discussions on the build-out of Wildwood. We had discussions on the new school that the next new school would be building. There was discussions on the impact on military families, and Ms. Dawn Simpson threw out, and at this one brought comments, and the committee reviewed them and said that we were aware and trying to limit the impact, and we would discuss things as came forward in the recommendation on grandfathering, the third new elementary school. And then at every meeting after the first one, well, including the first one actually, we did have some community members there. So as the meeting was wrapping down, they were able to comment, and so that their discussions and comments would be a part of other things to the committee as they move forward. There were several discussions about various areas down in the lower blow up here of, and I know you've received comment about the military housing. We've looked at that. There's like 3 or 4 plans, I think, that looked at that. Some cases, such as this one and 3, we were moving people out of Wildwood so that we could allow communities from the outside to remain, and that was looked at different communities and all. So it was looked at that way, and just share that with you. The third meeting, again, the plans continued to increase based on the comments, and Green Holly was a discussion, the capacity there. We had, in the first couple of meetings, we had a lot of discussion about Green Holly, and we finalized the state capacity, so we were able to move on. And plans 1 through 5 were really taken under real review at this meeting, and saying 3 and 4 has some merit. From that, it moved on to producing additional 6, 7A, 7B, 8, 9, and 10. Again, at that meeting, military housing was discussed. Also, the 9 and 10, talking about middle school feeder patterns. Community comment, the discussion went on Plan 10. The committee came down with the recommendations on grandfathering, and had a lot of discussion about those recommendations that came to you. And the community there spoke at that meeting, and at the meeting felt, responded well to where the committee was heading at that time. So that brought us to Plan 10 and the recommendations to you. And so to complete this part of the public hearing, Kim's going to review that plan for the record, and then we'll be turning it back to public comment. Thank you.
We did at the public information session cover this in great detail. So what we've done is we've summarized this, and at the end of the presentation I will read into the record the geographic areas and the recommendations. So I'm going to go through the maps a little quicker than we've done in the past. The areas that are highlighted in yellow are areas that are going to be added to a district. The areas that are in blue are areas that would be removed from a district. This is the Captain Walter Francis Duke Elementary School District. Is in all yellow because it would be creation of a new district. Essentially, this is created from Leonardtown Elementary School and Hollywood Elementary School's districts coming into it. And it would essentially cover the 245 corridor from Leonardtown going over to Route 235, which would be comprised of Leonardtown and Hollywood's districts. And it would conclude a small portion of Hollywood's district to the northern portion. It would include Leonard's Grant, but not include Clark's Rest and Singletree, which would remain at Leonardtown Elementary School. Coming down, it would come down into the Broad Creek community, which would be going from Hollywood to Captain Walter Francis Duke. For Evergreen Elementary School, again, the yellow is the areas that would be added to Evergreen Elementary School, and the blue would be the areas that would be going from Evergreen in this area would be going to Hollywood. The 2 areas that are added, this section here would be coming from Town Creek. It is currently St. Mary's Crossing. It is an undeveloped parcel, and it was done so that as we look to the future for the new school that is planned in 2018, we looked at this as being a part of St. Andrews Church Road, Indian Bridge, that the committee had an extensive discussion about moving towards that new school as a possibility, knowing that we were taking this area now and moving it towards Hollywood, coming up through Hollywood to Duke. This would be the first phase of relief for Wildwood. The future would be to come back and look at this corridor that would remain Evergreen going south, going to the new school. This section here is just one student now. It made sense from a transportation section. As we were trying to look at bus routes to move it down into Evergreen, there currently would be no students next year. But it did make sense as we were realigning Hollywoods to clean that section of the bus route transportation up. Hollywood Elementary School, everything that is in the brown would remain. It is currently the existing Hollywood boundary. The areas that are in blue would be the sections that we saw going to Captain Walter Francis Duke. The sections in yellow are what we just saw coming from Evergreen Elementary School to constitute the new Hollywood. As I said, this is a wraparound redistricting. So if we're looking at Captain Walter Francis Duke here, we want to relieve Evergreen. We would take students from Evergreen to Hollywood, and then we would move from Hollywood to Duke, and that's how we're going to populate the new school. In addition, we have students coming from Leonardtown into Captain Walter Francis Duke. One of the things we like to do with the redistricting is we like to look at the northbound and southbound lanes. This creates an opportunity for bus transportation and clean lines for communities to separate it by the natural barrier, which would be the northbound and southbound lanes. This section here will be important as we get to the final part to talk about middle school. Looking at Leonardtown Elementary School, this is the piece that we were talking about, the 245 section going over to 235. That would be coming from Leonardtown Elementary School going to Captain Walter Francis Duke, with Singletree and Clark's Rest staying with Leonardtown Elementary School. And the rationale for that is, as we're looking at a new elementary school, which would be down in the Great Mills corridor, we knew that we would want to pull off of Leonardtown Elementary School in the future. It would give us an opportunity to do that. But at the same time, we wanted to make sure that there was continued growth for Leonardtown Elementary School. And looking at the capacity for Captain Walter Francis Duke, we needed to have the opportunity to fill this to capacity, but with Clark's Rest coming in, that would be an additional 130-some students, and it overcrowded in those scenarios. So this plan here would allow for the continued growth of Leonardtown, letting Clark's Rest come in as it continues to develop out. Town Creek Elementary School remained the same in terms of its population. It does lose the PP section, which is St. Mary's Crossing, but they're currently undeveloped and no homes on that property, and none proposed in the near future. As I mentioned, when we talked about this piece here in Hollywood that would be going to Captain Walter Francis Duke, while we were not doing any middle school redistricting this time, what we wanted to look at was feeder patterns. And currently, this piece here would go from Hollywood Elementary School, and then it would go to Leonardtown Middle School when everyone else went to Esperanza Middle School. So it didn't create a good, clean feeder pattern. With this section now going to Captain Walter Francis Duke, everybody that is in this section now along this 235 corridor would go to Captain Walter Francis Duke and then would transition to go to Leonardtown Middle School together. So it was something that we were able to work to clean up that feeder pattern so that they would all collectively go to Leonardtown Middle School together. In terms of the demographics, we reviewed this in depth, and this information is all located on our website as well. When we look at this in terms of redistricting, Captain Walter Francis Duke, if it were to open today, this is in pre-K to 5 numbers, based on the numbers we have today. Captain Walter Francis Duke would open with 546 students as the delta difference. Evergreen would go down 166 seats short. Big difference from where they are today. Hollywood would be 60 seats short, down, and Leonardtown would be down 300. Right now, they have 760 seats in district. After, they would have 460, which is here. Looking down to this set of numbers, which takes the students that were currently moving, which would be 694 students that were moving, projecting them to next year based on the growth pattern for that district and what it looked like adding into the new development. Captain Walter Francis Duke would open with 565 students. Evergreen would open with 689, and Leonardtown would open with 460, leaving 123 for Clark's Rest to continue to build out. Condensed down, I will read this into the record for the public hearing. The areas reassigned from Leonardtown Elementary School to Captain Walter Francis Duke Elementary School. So Maryland Route 5 northbound from and including Cedar Lane Court to and including Maryland Route 245 to and including Barnsby Lane, and all auxiliary roads, drives, courts, and lanes. McIntosh Road from the intersection of Maryland Route 245 to but not including Jones Road, including all auxiliary roads, drives, courts, and lanes. St. John's Road from the intersection of Maryland Route 245 to but not including Abels Run Drive, including all auxiliary roads, drives, courts, and lanes. From Hollywood Elementary School to Captain Walter Francis Duke Elementary School. Maryland Route 245 from but not including Barnsby Lane to the intersection of Maryland Route 235, including all auxiliary roads, drives, courts, and lanes. Northbound Maryland Route 235 from the intersection of but not including Old Three Notch Road and Three Notch Road to including Jones Wharf Road, including all auxiliary roads, drives, courts, and lanes. Southbound Maryland Route 235 from the intersection of Jones Wharf Road to and including Airport View Drive, including all auxiliary roads, drives, courts, and lanes. From Hollywood Elementary School to Evergreen Elementary School. Southbound Maryland Route 235 from but not including Airport View Drive to and including Airport Road, including all auxiliary roads, drives, courts, and lanes. From Town Creek Elementary School to Evergreen Elementary School. Johnson Pond Lane, including all auxiliary roads, drives, courts, and lanes. From Evergreen Elementary School to Hollywood Elementary School. Southbound Maryland Route 235 from the intersection of Maryland Route 4 to and including Old Rolling Road and all auxiliary roads, drives, courts, and lanes. Maryland Route 4 from and including the intersection of FDR Boulevard to Maryland Route 235, excluding the Settlers Landing development. The committee worked very long and hard to develop a set of recommendations that would come before you, and that recommendation includes submitting Plan 10 to the interim superintendent as the proposed redistricting plan with the following considerations. Based on continued growth at Evergreen Elementary School, do not allow transfers into the school except as outlined in this recommendation. Grandfathering all rising fifth grade students affected by the redistricting effort without transportation for the 2015-16 school year, utilizing a special form and process developed by St. Mary's County Public Schools. Provide support for students of active duty military families within the Evergreen, Hollywood, and Leonardtown Elementary School communities by grandfathering students who currently attend these schools through the end of the 2014-15 school year and their siblings without transportation for a 3-year period through the 2017-18 school year. Students and their siblings will be able to attend the school based on their registration for the 2014-15 school year. Allow new students who register from the time of approval of the redistricting plan to the last day of the 2014-15 school year and are redistricted to Hollywood Elementary School to attend Hollywood Elementary School for the remainder of the 2014-15 school year without transportation. Effective July 1st, 2015, all new active duty military students will attend the school based on their residence and the approved redistricting school boundaries. St. Mary's County Public Schools will develop a special transfer form and process for the active duty military transfers outlined in this proposal, which must be utilized. In order to address transportation resources, the Sunshine Daycare Center will be limited to continued transportation service to Benjamin Banneker Elementary School and Leonardtown Elementary School as currently served. School start times will be finalized as a result of the approval process and establishment of new bus routes. It is anticipated that the start time will be between 8:15 a.m. and 8:30 a.m. for Captain Walter Francis Duke Elementary School and between 8:30 a.m. and 9 o'clock a.m. for Leonardtown Elementary School. The communication plan that we have established and have since the beginning of the process is the information has been located on our website after a result of every meeting that we've had. The 2 websites are listed there. It either can be accessed through the school's website or through my department's website. Emails can be sent to redistrict@smcps.org. Phone calls can be placed to my office through that number. Letters, as we're continuing on through the redistricting process, letters can be mailed to my office, but we do ask those be ensured that they're delivered by February 9th in preparation for your February 11th meeting. Next steps, we're on the public hearing tonight. Comments will continue to be received through mail through February 9th, and the school system's redistricting email and phone by February 10th in preparation for the February 11th, 2015 recommendation, which will be presented to you. And that is the completion of the presentation.
Okay, thank you. All right, I have a few procedural things and then we can get started with comment. First of all, the board will not be responding to any questions at this time. All participants wishing to speak should have signed in on the speakers list, and I think Mrs. Battle has it now. If you've not signed in, you can do so with her. Written comments are also welcomed. You can leave your copy with the secretary. You will be called in the order that you signed in. Please come to the podium and state your name. Speakers will be allowed 3 minutes to speak, and you may not yield your time to someone else. When you hear the beeper, you are asked to summarize your closing statement so we can move on to the next individual.
Mary Ann Granada.
Good evening. I was hoping to get a better understanding of a couple of questions I had remaining from your last board meeting on the 16th. I did speak with Ms. Howe, but I still don't understand how the data was collected and acquired for this, particularly for students that are not currently in the school system. We've lived on Old Rolling Road for many years. We're planning on attending Evergreen. Even had a family member move up here from sunny Florida into Wildwood so that they could be the bus stop, so that I could alleviate paying taxes and before and after care. My child, by choice, is in pre-K and has been for 2 years in a program. By choice, understanding there's no universal pre-K, but it's important to me, but would like to get a break. So I'd like to know how data was collected so that she was accounted for. She was not born in this county, although we have lived in this county for many years. I'd like some further explanation on what it means for Hollywood Elementary School as a pass-through school. I still haven't gotten a full, complete understanding of what that means. My concern would be that groundbreaking in 24 months for this Indian Bridge, quote-unquote, elementary school, will I have another upheaval for my child before 5th grade? I would like to know that now. And of course, I'm here because I'd like to see the moratorium lifted, if not for everyone, because I understand it can't be, but I'm here to advocate for my child as a choice if transfers in, because we have a family member living, I don't know how many blocks, but probably 1/4 mile to 1/2 mile from Evergreen now, because that was part of our plan, knowing that we were going to have a 5-year-old going to Evergreen, and we put that in plan in place last summer and had someone move up here. And so, I'm sorry to say I don't really care about hundreds of people getting a transfer in, but I'm concerned about my own child, and it's purely economics for me. And that's it. Thank you. I guess I'd like to know when I'm going to get some answers to these questions.
Dawn Simpson.
Good evening. My name is Dawn Simpson, and I am the School Liaison Officer for the Naval Air Station Patuxent River. As the school liaison, my job is to gather information and give information to the command, the schools, and military families. I did attend the School Boundary Advisory Committee meetings, and during these meetings, I reminded the committee of the frequent moves and school transitions that military families endure. NAS Pax River is thankful for the considerations the redistricting proposal provides for military families and is confident families will receive a quality education and support at whichever school they attend. Naval Air Station Patuxent River is aware of the concerns surrounding the military family life consultant positioned at Evergreen Elementary and is working to offer the resource at Hollywood. MFLACs can be dedicated to one school, or they can be a shared resource between schools. At this time, we are trying to determine if another full-time counselor is needed for Hollywood, or if the MFLAC at Evergreen can be shared between the schools. Final placement of the MFLAC will be determined once the board takes action on the redistricting plan and we see where military families enroll. Please note, a full-time MFLAC is also stationed at Pax River and is available to all military families. Thank you for your consideration.
Dave Strandel, Aaron Anholt,
I'm Erin Anholt. First, I want to apologize. I sent an email to the board this morning, and some of my information was wrong. I was researching at 4 this morning with a crying toddler who has an ear infection, and I did not check properly. One of the housing neighborhoods that I had mentioned in my email is actually going to be going to the new school. I did want to discuss, once again, I am very opposed to moving the Columbia Colony neighborhood. We have a cohesive neighborhood right now. When people move into military housing, they're moving there for the community, for the friendships, for the families. Splitting our children between schools is just, it's more problems for our kids, in addition to these kids who are going to have to redistrict, especially kids who aren't able to utilize the grandfathering clause because they have to have bus service. I think that it is well within reason to ask that the board re-examine keeping Columbia Colony neighborhood in Evergreen Elementary District as an island. The committee did not propose a single plan, not one, where Columbia Colony was examined alone as an island, despite repeated requests from myself and other people in my neighborhood. I think that if you have a community that has a large population with exceptional needs, you look at that. If you have 30% of your kids have dyslexia, you're going to say, okay, we have 30% of our students who have the same issue. How can we accommodate these children? I think the committee had a massive failure by not recognizing in its stated goals to lessen the impact on military families. I think that was the beginning of the problems. And I think that there are definitely ways to keep Columbia Colony in Evergreen schools, especially when you consider that we are moving from one overcrowded school to another overcrowded school. Hollywood has new housing being built in it right now. Wildwood is at 70% capacity, according to a conversation that I had with the developer. There's also another construction project being proposed right now that will further help relieve the overcrowding issue at Evergreen. I understand that there's military in all of our communities. It's a heavily military area, one of the top 25 in the nation. But when you are looking at a neighborhood that is exclusively military and 100% of the people in that community are in the same boat, it deserves a different recognition and a different examination of the issues. And I am very disappointed that the committee did not propose a single plan, not one, where they looked at Columbia Colony as an island and examined our issues aside from the civilian community at large. Thank you.
that's all, Mrs. Bailey.
That's all? Okay. Scott, do you have final remarks?
I would like to thank the three speakers for coming forward tonight and sharing their insights into the redistricting process. Obviously, the opening of a new school and the movement of hundreds of children are something that should not be taken lightly and should be considered completely. The one thing that I can absolutely guarantee you is whether you are at Hollywood Elementary School and Miss Jennifer Gilman is here, or whether you're at Evergreen Elementary School with Miss Kim Summers, or you're at Leonardtown with Denise Eichel, or at the new Captain Walter Francis Duke with Mr. Jeff Dorenzo, the principal there, you're going to have a quality education, you're going to have a fantastic school community, you're going to have gifted and caring adults working with your children. So I thank you very much for your comments this evening, and I turn it back to Ms. Bailey.
I would like to thank everyone for their comments. We've received several emails letters. We've had several conversations with several of the, the legislators within the district. So, I think Mrs. Washington said it very eloquently at the last meeting. We won't be able to make everyone happy, but, we will listen to your concerns and try and do the best that we can. And echoing again what Mr. Smith said, I think any child going to any one of these elementary schools will still receive, the best care and best education, regardless of where they are placed. So, but we will work to, to get the questions answered and to at least, maybe not make you jumping off the rooftops, but maybe make you comfortable with where your child is going to attend school next year. So, and I do thank you all for taking the time out on this snow day to join us here.
And thank you for that. 3 left. There's 2 out, so we have 3 left. So we'll see. Maybe we'll have snow for the next 3.
As I told him this morning, he was completely doomed when the crawl came across on Channel 4, St. Mary's County 2 hours delay, and then there's like Chuck Bell in Hughesville with the snow machine.
Snow flying
So-
all about. Yeah.
So,
Thank you.
anyone else on the board have any comments?
No.
So, okay. I thank you very much, and we are adjourned.
I figured, given that you're